Loaded show here at the Heat Report today is Donovan Mitchell. Is he staying put in Cleveland? Is the Miami Heat the best fit for Lauri Markkanen? And are the Heat interested in a Gordon Hayward trade? We'll break it all down for you today in today's Heat Report. And it is a loaded one after a nice win against the Orlando Magic last night. But before we dive into everything, I want to make sure this is the largest Heat YouTube show on the platform. And the best way to help us out is sharing this video on social media. So if you want to see this channel grow and have more Heat fans grow the channel, well then hit that share button. And if you tag me on Twitter when you share the video, at Nick_Roloff, I'll give you a shout out on the next show. Help us here at the Heat Report. I'm begging you. Let's spread the word to Heat Nation. All right, let's start with what the most recent report on Donovan Mitchell is, and it comes from our main man, Jake Fisher. He said that Cleveland officials have maintained a commitment to this core of 4 all-star talents, meaning Mitchell, Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley. And he also said that even with the chatter among rival executives that Mitchell will inevitably bolt when he can, they're going to keep this core until that 2025 unrestricted market can happen. And to be honest, I think this is the best case scenario for the Miami Heat. And you might ask yourself why I think that this is good for Miami. Well, there's a lot of reasons, right? Like, if the Heat wanted to acquire Donovan Mitchell in the next year and a half before he hits free agency, they'd have to trade for D-Mitch. And that obviously cost you a lot of assets. But the main reason why I think this is best case scenario for the Miami Heat is because if they were interested in Donovan Mitchell, which we expect them to be, they would likely be outbid by another team in the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes. When you think of the teams that could be interested in the services of Donovan Mitchell, the Brooklyn Nets come to mind. The New York Knicks come to mind. What do those two teams have in common? Well, they have a shit ton of draft picks, something Miami does not have. They could only trade 2 first-round picks as we currently sit. If we waited till the offseason, then they'd be able to trade 3 first-round picks in 27, 29, and 31. But as of now, they could only trade 27 and 29. I mean, the Knicks have 1 million picks. The Nets have 1 million picks after the Kyrie and Harden trade. So if the Heat wanted to get Mitchell, they would likely get outbid by one of the 2 teams in New York. But if you wait till free agency, that's when things get interesting. Because Donovan Mitchell on the open market would get to choose his team. And assuming that Mickey Arison and Pat Riley would go all in for Donovan Mitchell, which you assume they would, he would be, and the Heat would be, a preferred destination for Donovan Mitchell. He loves Miami. He trains in Miami all the time. He's best friends with Bam Adebayo. The 2 of them always train together. They've played on the Miami Pro League. And if you remember, before he got traded to Cleveland, he actually was in a Miami Pro League game, and the fans were chanting, "Spider, Spider, Spider." And he was smiling, having a good time, because he even knew that the Heat fans would love him and that he could be interested in joining the Miami Heat. But cast your vote for me. Would you rather trade for Donovan Mitchell this year at the deadline or in the offseason, or wait till 2025 to sign him? It's an interesting question. It's tough to answer, but I kind of lean wait, because then you can see what happened over the last couple of seasons and then make your choice if this core of Miami could ever win a championship, or if they need an extra jolt like Donovan Mitchell. But cast your votes down in the comments section. Next up, are the Heat the best fit for Lauri Markkanen? It's an interesting player that could be on the move this trade deadline. But before we get to Mr. Markkanen, make sure you are subscribed to the Heat Report, because we put out daily content surrounding the Miami Heat, whether it be trade rumors, a watch party. We had a really fun watch party last night against the Orlando Magic. Shout out Mr. DJ. Hopefully you're in the comment section. And we also make videos like this on a daily basis, climbing our way up to 7K subscribers. So join us now at the Heat Report. You will not regret it. Completely free content surrounding your Miami Heat. All right, let's move into what Kevin O'Connor had to say about Lauri Markkanen's fit with Miami in the NBA analyst, who was very critical of what Miami was offering for Damian Lillard in the offseason. But nonetheless, we'll move on. He said if Miami took the picks they were going to give for Dame and got Markkanen, or even not as many picks, Miami is interesting. You could run a two-man game stuff with him and Bam Adebayo. Either can run pick and roll and other screenings. That would be really fun if he went to Miami. I couldn't agree more. Lauri Markkanen would be such a big and perfect fit inside the 305. It just makes all the sense in the world to bring Markkanen to Miami. The question is, what would he cost, and would Pat Riley be willing to do it? But Markkanen, a 6'10", 6'11" big man that can shoot the three at an effective rate, but also put the ball on the deck and get to the rim and score. He'd be able to have the spacing that Miami requires, but also would give the Heat more size in the front court, which we've seen them struggle with. Teams like the Celtics, teams like the Bucks in the Eastern Conference that have two bigs. Just imagine being able to put Markkanen on Brook Lopez and have Bam guard Giannis, or have Markkanen on Porzingis and Bam roam, or guard Al Horford in that role if they ran a two-big lineup. It just makes way too much sense for the Heat to trade for Markkanen. He's a 20-plus per game scorer. He's a recent All-Star. He's playing at an All-Star level again for the Utah Jazz this season. They are struggling a lot. So it almost says, I know the Jazz have been unwilling to put him in trade discussions early, but there's recent reports that they no longer view him as untouchable. So if he is available on that market and could get got for a couple first-round picks and a young guy, which we'll talk about in just a second, the Heat adding Markkanen to this rotation could be a home run, and it could put Miami over the edge in the Eastern Conference and overall the NBA. We'll talk more about Markkanen in a second, but I got to show some love to our sponsor on today's show, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and you can play them alongside Meek Mill, the rapper, comedian Andrew Schultz, and millions of others. All you got to do is pick 2 to 6 player stat projections and pick more than or less than. But my favorite thing that Prize Picks is doing right now is that during this holiday season, they are offering special deals to the users on Prize Picks. In today's deal, we got Demons and Gremlins, apparently, and they give you boosted odds. So as you see on screen, my picks for tonight's Thursday night football game between the Saints and Rams. Matthew Stafford's stat projection is not 299.5. Derek Carr's projection is not 274.5. But if you take these picks, you get boosted odds. A 2-player selection would normally be 3 times your money. These 2 selections you see on screen, QB's taking the more than 11 times your money. Just another thing that makes Prize Picks so fun to play on a daily basis. So you can join me or you can fade me, but make sure you join Prize Picks today at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. Let's get into a Lauri Markkanen trade idea now, because this one might rile some people up, I'm not going to lie, and I'm going to give my reasoning for it in a second, but here's my trade idea. The Heat get both Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton, the guard, former Alabama Crimson Tide. The Jazz get Jaime Jaquez Jr. I know it's going to rile some people up. Kyle Lowry, and then 2 unprotected first-round picks. Before I get into my reasoning on why I think I'd be willing to do this, I want to get your guys' opinion first. Would you accept this trade? Markkanen and Sexton to the 305 in exchange for Lowry, Jaquez, and 2 unprotected first-round picks? Let me know in the comments section. Don't shoot me in the comments, please. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm still your friend here at the Heat Report, Nick Roloff. But When you think of the potential starting lineup in Miami, I just get a big-time smile to my face when you consider what a lineup could look like. I mean, yes, you're giving up Jaquez Jr., who has been phenomenal. But let's not forget, Jaquez is 22 years old. And yes, there's a lot of room to grow for Triple J. But what is his realistic ceiling? I think his ceiling, which this is aggressive, could be Jimmy Butler. But if you move off him with Lauri, you get a better point guard right now in Sexton, who is going to be a bulldog on the defensive end and not afraid to find his shot offensively. And then you get Markkanen, the floor spacing big, which I mentioned would be very valuable on a cheap contract right now. And you look at a starting lineup for that team. Sexton and Hero in the backcourt. And then Butler, Lauri, and Bam in the front court. We'll move over Milwaukee, move over Boston. This would be the best starting five in the Eastern Conference. And then you'd still be able to have Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Josh Richardson coming off the bench with Haywood Highsmith and Kevin Love. I mean, that 10-man rotation is flat out ridiculous. You're trying to tell me this starting lineup, plus the bench players I just mentioned, Eric Spoelstra at the helm, wouldn't win the NBA Finals? I think you're bonkers if you're disagreeing with me. You can obviously disagree with me and not want to trade Jaquez Jr., but keeping Hero, Markkanen, and Bam as your young core moving forward, and then having Butler kind of at the end of his career be that veteran closer for Miami, and then Sexton also being the versatile scorer he is, I think it just makes too much sense. And if he came available and Danny Ainge and Pat Riley sat down and kind of got to talking, I think both sides can see why this would be intriguing. Obviously, Jaquez Jr. plus the 2 first-round picks could be the future in the Utah Jazz organization, and then Lauri, an expiring deal, as Sexton and Markkanen have multiple years left on their contracts. Finally, we'll talk about Gordon Hayward, and could Miami be interested in a Gordon Hayward trade? And the reason why I want to talk about this is, well, there was a recent sports book that has the Miami Heat as the best odds to have Gordon Hayward be his next team. And first look at Gordon Hayward, older veteran who has not done a lot in Charlotte this season, 15 points a night. Efficiency isn't too bad, 4.7 rebounds, 4.7 assists, but we know there's not a lot of winning going down in Charlotte, and it doesn't help that LaMelo Ball got hurt, but Hayward way past his prime on a expensive deal. Yes, only 1 year left, so you'd probably have to swap Lauri. Swapping those type of expiring big contracts would make sense. Gordon Hayward would bring a wing presence to this team, but the problem is, and the reason why I'm passing on a Gordon Hayward trade, the Heat do not need wings. They have Jaquez. They have Caleb Martin. They have Highsmith, Jimmy, and plenty of others. You can even call Josh Richardson a wing. There is no reason for the Heat to add another wing into that crowded room. Sure, is he more experienced than a Jaime Jaquez Jr., but Caleb Martin dominated in the playoffs this past year. Jaquez has been exceptional as a rookie. I am not moving anything to get Gordon Hayward. I'm not doing it. The only move I'm making at the deadline is either for a backup center, a backup point guard, or a big-time move like that Lauri Markkanen trade I just mentioned. I'm not going to make no middle average move just to add more veteran experience. It's not worth it to me. I'd rather ride with the young wings Miami already has and Jaquez and Caleb Martin. I'm passing on Gordon Hayward. No offense, you're a decent ball player, but I don't really think you're going to help Miami get over the hump at any point. Appreciate everyone tuning in throughout the entire video. If you did make it to the end of the video, you're a real one, and spam those 305s for me down in the comments section. But if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at Nick_Roloff. I tweet about the Miami Heat on a daily basis. It's the best way to get up to date on everything Miami Heat, following me on Twitter and subscribing to the channel. So follow me, and I might even follow you back. I'll see you on the next one. Go Heat.